Well, he's all over the news today after he had a protest yesterday, controversial protest in front of the biggest mosque in Michigan. This was in Dearborn, Michigan, where he said at the protest, I'm reading from the USA Today article, quote, Islam has one goal, that is world domination. I'm talking here about Pastor Terry Jones, who of course is known worldwide for inciting deadly riots after threatening to burn the Koran and blasting Islam. Terry Jones joins me right now, where you, Pastor Jones, are not only involved in protests against Islam, apparently you're also wading into the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman controversy. Why are you getting involved in Trayvon Martin and the case?
Yeah, we are concerned that there's a type of vigilante attitude or atmosphere that's been somewhat propagated by the black community, let's say especially like by Sharpton, by perhaps just Jesse Jackson. It's also our experience here in Gainesville. In Gainesville, we participated in a march that took place from the university down to the courthouse. We appeared at the courthouse before the marchers, and I talked there with the organizer of the event. And she was a former co-chairman for the Black Panthers, and she asked us why we are here. And I tried to explain to her that we were not there to proclaim Zimmerman's innocence or him being guilty. We were there because of the Constitution. We were there because, according to our law and our rule of law, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. She immediately stopped me, did not want to hear it. We are concerned that we need to be emphasizing our Constitution, and that people need to not to already proclaim one of the parties innocent or one of the parties guilty. We need to stick with the Constitution. The Constitution says, our rule of law says, that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and not proven guilty by me, not proven guilty by mass hysteria, by emotions, but be proven guilty by our court of law. That is our concern, that we are moving away from that very important truth.
Yeah, well, mostly, though, you've still been involved in protesting the Islamic community in the United States, in particular, protesting the Dearborn community. You sent out an email. I got it, and I want to go over with you some of the main issues that you have with the Islamic community in Dearborn, Michigan. You have several mentioned here, so tell me what specifically have you been protesting in Dearborn?
Yeah, our protest started out. We were going to have a protest in front of the Islamic Center, of which we were stopped, we were jailed, we were denied that right. We of course appealed that. We were banned from the mosque for a period of 3 years. We appealed that and won. Our first protest dealt with the issue of Sharia law, and terrorism. This protest here also deals with that. We have a great concern that the Muslim community in America will try to do as they have done in the past in the Middle East, as they have also done in Europe. I spent 30 years in Europe. I saw that development, that they slowly try to push their agenda, being Sharia, push their agenda upon American society instead of adapting to our rules, our regulations, and adapting to our Constitution.
Yeah, well, some of the issues that you have here with regard to Sharia, with regard to Islam in the United States, in particular in Dearborn, I'm looking at your list. One is halal. Tell us about that, the cost of halal for the taxpayers in Michigan.
Yeah, this is a pilot program anyway at one time that started 11 years ago. They started serving there in the Dearborn school system 5 different meals. One of them a so-called regular, normal meal, and the other 4 halal meals. This is costing the taxpayers there an additional $228,000 a year. And it's also just an example. We have the example, of course, of the football team there that moves their practice, which is utterly ridiculous, during Ramadan from a normal practicing time to midnight to 4 p.m. We are against these type of activities because, of course, once we start making exceptions for religious groups, there's no stopping that.
Well, but this begs the question then. For example, let's say the halal meals, or you talk about the practice, the high school practices. Also, you have here listed the foot baths in state-funded colleges and foot baths also in airports. But if you go into airports, there are also prayer rooms for Christians, for Jews. Or what about, let's say you have a high school or elementary school that has pork in every single meal that they serve, and the Christians, let's say, want a meal that doesn't have pork in it, or let's say the Jews want a kosher meal. Why would that be? Why is that not a problem, and why is it only a problem with Muslims, with foot baths, with halal menus? In other words, are you picking out the Islamic community here?
Well, I don't really think that we are doing that. I think there is somewhat of a difference. Of course, if we, I know in the past they used to serve fish on Friday, but fish is also just an alternative. There is chicken, fish, meat. That fish is not specially prepared. That fish does not cost extra money. That particular action does not cost $200,000, and it is not 4 separate meals, but perhaps only one entree. Also, though, on the other side, we are. That is a good example of that. If we start making exceptions, in other words, if we make exceptions for the Christians, if we make exceptions for the Jews, if we make exceptions for the Catholics, then, of course, where does that stop? Now we make exceptions for the Muslims. Then we make exceptions for the Hindus. We are actually against all type of exceptions in those particular cases because they just do not have an end. Like for us as Christians, we would like to have, let's say, a cross hung in every cafeteria. We don't usually have that much preference towards meals like Muslims do, but what if we were to hang a cross in every cafeteria and pay for the cross ourselves? Of course, that would not be allowed. There would be a great outcry concerning that. So we are actually against this type of singling out of groups and making of exceptions.
We're speaking with Pastor Terry Jones of Stand Up America. You came to international fame back when you threatened to burn the Koran. You are now threatening worldwide Koran burning if Iran doesn't release the Christian pastor Yosef Nadarkhani, who is sentenced to die reportedly for announcing Islam. The Iranian government claims that the sentence was based instead on alleged violent crimes, but no formal charges or evidence of violent crimes has been presented in court. And actually, until now, the Iranian government has made very clear that they will offer leniency to Pastor Yosef if only he will renounce his Christianity. So you're threatening worldwide Koran burning. Is that correct? At what point, if Iran doesn't release a Pastor Yosef, by when?
Yeah, that is correct, and this is just another example of Muslim, of Quran, of Sharia, of Islam. They talk the talk here in America of peace and harmony, but they do not walk the walk. Yes, we have put out many press releases. We have tried to contact Iran. We've tried to contact many of the religious leaders there. Yes, we have put out an ultimatum that if they have not released Pastor Yosef by April the 28th, we are calling for a worldwide burning of Qurans and images of Muhammad as a protest. We are also challenging the Muslim community, let's say especially the imam in Dearborn, the imam of the Islamic Center there in Dearborn. I believe he has very direct ties with Iran. We are challenging him and other Muslims. They claim to be men of religion. They claim to be men of peace. We challenge him to work together with us. I would fly with him to Iran to work together with us for the release of Pastor Yosef if the Muslims here in America really believe in peace and religious freedom.
Well, but here's the thing, because you previously threatened to burn the Koran. You set off deadly riots in Afghanistan, and I'm sure you've been paying attention to the news of late. A very tense situation in Afghanistan. Already U.S. troops have died in this tense situation in recent weeks. You do realize that the announcement alone can result in American deaths.
Yes, we do realize that.
Well, so then why would you make such an announcement?
Well, because we feel one, something has to be done. We have very few alternatives that we can do. That is something that does get the Muslim community's attention, the Quran or Muhammad. We also feel that backing down, even though these things could be considered as being radical, Muslims do use these things as excuses to promote their violent behavior. But at the same time, 1,400 years of history has told us that backing down doesn't work either.
Well, but if you know as a fact, there's no fact. Yeah, but if you know for certain that the Muslim community will 100% react, as you both, I know, we all know they will, with deadly riots because they have in the past with this kind of announcement. Why? I have to ask the question again. Why would you go ahead with something like this?
Well, because we feel that the situation has become so desperate, the situation has become so violent. As you may be aware of, I believe every 5 minutes a Christian missionary is being killed in a Muslim country. We see what happens in Egypt. They have no problems with burning down churches, killing of Christians. I believe in Afghanistan there's not even one Christian church left. They have no problem here in America defaming our Constitution. We feel that something has to be done, and we feel that this type of warning, this type of activity is warranted.
Are you afraid for your life? Have you received death threats lately because of this kind of activity from you?
Yes, we have received death threats. We were also warned that we would possibly receive death threats concerning our activity. Now with Morton and Zimmerman. I have received, as you probably are aware of, around 300 death threats, and there is a reward on my life for $2.4 million. So we are in one sense not fearful, but we are of course very cautious. But on the other hand, we have no intention of backing down.
All right, Pastor Terry Jones now threatening Iran with Koran burning. I think this is irresponsible, but thank you for being here. 1-800-848-WABC is the number. In fact, I'm taking questions and comments next. Also coming up shortly, Jackie Mason, John Batchelor, but next I'm on with you. We can continue our conversation from before about racial tensions in the United States, about the Muslim Brotherhood, about eligibility. 1-800-848-9222.